Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crypto City. And now, please welcome to the stage your hosts, CityGirl and PixelAddikt.
Welcome everyone. Happy New Year. Happy
Hey,
New
Happy
Year,
New
Pixel.
Year. Let's try 2023. Everyone had a a great 22. Let's kind of restart this, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were good points and bad points to 2022, I think. There were definitely, a lot of people went through some tough times, but, and I'm sure a lot of workplaces were going through difficult times. Hopefully 2023 is going to turn itself around a bit. Hopefully a lot of things will turn around like the market. That would be nice. Um, but in
Yeah.
general, I feel like, we're off to a good start. Here we are on day 2. Let's do this.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of work through the holidays a little bit. I take some time off. You got to do the work-life balance, but the
Sure.
computer's always kind of closed. So you work in tech, but you're able to some time off and think about the new year, think about all the tech that we got this year or last year. So pushing through, right? I like that every year that goes by, and moves quicker and quicker. So you gotta stay on top of it. And I think last year we did a good job. I think everybody, especially in AltSpace and other kind of metaverses and all the NFTs and just lots of. I know the market wasn't really kind of hot. It wasn't really what's considered a bear market, I guess now. But um, projects get built, and some of the weeds kind of got sorted out, right? Players that
Hmm.
weren't proper. If you didn't play nice, you got smacked. So we'll see if
This is true.
it'll always happen, right? A lot of different new markets, right? New industries.
Oh, sure. I mean, and I also feel like, despite the fact that there were some challenges, with the market and everything else, I feel like, the trends and the things that were introduced into all of our worlds last year were growing and incredible. So yes, there were some challenges, and people may have been a little bit restrained, but I feel like most people who are involved in this type, especially in the tech stuff like you do, you guys are just like going with it. You're coming up with new and better things and throwing it out there. I mean, we did nothing but report about all these amazing things that were happening out in the real world that are incorporating stuff from the metaverse, and between the NFTs and everything else. I feel like, there was a lot of growth in these industries.
For sure. And like what fuels a lot of that is, YouTube, right? And like self-learning. So we preach a lot about, you got to do your research and you got to go online and you got to watch videos. And I think that's so important. So if you're going to learn these new technologies, and now we're finding, friends of ours have learned new digital skills that they're turning into services. So that kind of shows that, in whether it's Web3 or crypto or different metaverse and different plays, 3D modeling. I took up that, essentially last year, right? Like it's about 2 years now, but a serious look. So taking that and all these other tech, it's great that you can now build these portfolios and get them out there and maybe get some extra work in. So we're here to kind of, talk about all the projects and see what we can kind of all share together.
Absolutely. And I think it's been great as well that there's so many different walks of life getting involved with this too. It's no longer something that's only for, y- pardon the expression, but the techie geeks. It's not just for
Right.
that. It's for, everybody. There are people who are coming in here and are just like, I love this. How do I become part of it? What do I do? How can I learn some of this? So you're right. You've got YouTube videos. There's also now lots of webinars and lots of little mini courses that people can take to learn this stuff, which is exciting because it's no longer, oh, I can't do that because it's too complicated. It's like, hey, if you put the work and the effort and time into it, you can do it. You just got to, make yourself accessible to it. So it's pretty, the tools are out there. Put them to use if you're interested.
Yeah, and you can tell too, a lot of these technologies, they come in these little waves. So you can tell there's a first kind of experience, right? A lot of the tech geekies are the ones that get it first, and then you can tell it flows into the mainstream to where the tools that we'll design help a lot of the people on board, right? Like so that it's not so complicated, like the user experience. I think that's as you go with the years, the user experience, more companies come in, more startups are
Hmm.
designing new platforms. Then you get a chance to kind of say, hey, I don't like that because that's too hard. I also found this one. And this one's really nice and easy, and it's on your phone. And it's like you were talking about the POAPs, right? Like doing stuff like that is now more user friendly so that people can onboard and get your friends to have NFTs now we've talked about and maybe kind of and tonight we'll talk about augmented reality and other types of tech that help help your brand, help NFTs, whether it's crypto or help just in general you're promoting your kind of brand and other things. So it'll be quite the conversation.
I'm very excited about it. I mean, I think some of you may be pleasantly surprised that you're actually much more familiar with augmented reality than you might realize. There's just you're probably not used to it being called that, but if anybody in this room has ever used Snapchat, there's augmented reality right there with the filters that they're putting on. There's
Right.
a lot of apps and programs out that you might use either on your phone or on your computer that you might not realize are actually augmented reality. I was talking with Pixel earlier, but one of the ones that I use a lot is Wayfair. Wayfair, you buy furniture. There are a lot of items in the Wayfair catalog on your phone in the app where you can actually take your phone, hold it up in your room, and it will place that piece of furniture in that part of your room so you can check it out and be like, oh, that's what it would look like in my house. People don't realize that's augmented reality. That is, it's amazing because it lets you, what is it, try before you buy, and you get to do that in furniture. IKEA does it. There's another app called Houzz, Houzz, and that
Yep.
lets you look at different things that you could potentially have in your home. But even so, away from furniture and things, we have websites where you can go and put the hairstyle on you to see, I want to cut my hair short, what would I look like? And you get to load it up on your phone, put your face in there, and you get to see what you look like in that hairstyle. Augmented reality. And then of course there's, the Pokemon Go craze that was so big, and people were walking around and trying, you see people walking around with their phone like this, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, they can see something on their phone in that spot that no one else can see if they're not using that app, but it's there. And it turned into a game and it got people up and going. And I remember hearing one of the biggest benefits for children with that game was the fact that it got kids up and going. The whole
Outside.
play
Yeah.
60, people were, kids had to get kids, excited sometimes to go out and play. you know this got them out there because they were actually playing a game and they didn't realize, hey, I just walked, 3 miles finding all these little Pokemon critters. So it's pretty interesting. Like, these are all things that you might have used in your daily life, or you at least are maybe aware of, that you might not have realized is actually augmented reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great examples. And you can tell too, as each industry has different kind of, use cases. Like you were talking about the housing and that and IKEA. Well, you can tell too now since everybody has mobile phones, what they've done is the code that runs a lot of that, whether it's AR kit, kind of those, like they development of those, it's gotten so efficient that now you can run them on smartphones or you can have like a augmented reality kind of headset. So before it
Hmm.
was, the history of that was like Google Glass, right? You could have a piece of headset where you could have like different commands and see different things that are augmented into the real world. The now you're getting into these virtual reality sets that are mixed reality. So the latest kind of Quest Pro 2, that's
Hmm.
all that's all it has augmented reality to where there's pass through, where it's color. So you can see
Okay.
these digital games. So you were talking about IKEA. IKEA will have actual, you know, instead of just kind of, having your cell phone and painting the wall or like seeing the furniture built, now you can actually have animation of the pieces being built. So it kind of lays it all out and then it kind of plays, animation as it kind of so you can build it in real life. It's crazy.
So
So like
interesting.
so crazy. So like they're really pushing the the augmented reality kind of the tech part as far as industry goes. So yeah, it's
Mm,
at home and users can play with face filters, like you said, and change hair, and that's good for brands and good for fashion and kind of fashion industry has. We can talk about that for an hour because they do
right.
dresses full. Like you've seen like videos of like mirrors that do augmented reality and full kind of gowns and shoes, right? The sneakers. But those kind of industries, it's more overlays and kind of utility, more for aesthetics, more for design. But
Exactly.
you can there's companies, Microsoft works with other companies that the overlays are more for business, more for work, right? Like if you work in a factory or such. So the augmented reality can actually kind of provide data and more real-time data and actions and stuff so you can actually interact with it. I think some of the coolest augmented reality stuff, like you said, the Pokemon, but it's interacting with them, right? Like throwing
Mm,
food at them and talking to them, and these are digital pets now. They're not
having the
just
reaction
on
back.
TV. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well,
So
it's it's funny that you mentioned that too. I'm not gonna lie, it was New Year's. I know a lot of you went out and bought champagne. I bought champagne too, and I also bought a bottle of the Snoop Dogg that has the augmented reality where you hold your phone in front of it and he sings to you. I did it. I did it. I broke
that's
down and I
awesome.
joined the masses. Interesting.
Yeah,
And
that shows it's
mechanics are a big one
interactivity.
that use it.
Yeah.
When they're doing repairs of engines and things like that in cars, a lot of the mechanics have, as you were saying, they're having the overlay that so they can sit there and see how it's being done. So they're working on the car at the same time and seeing that actually this is what should go where, so they know what they're doing. And they use it for tutorials in a lot of the education classes for that as well.
Yeah, well, education works, but then, like you said, even for the fun aspect, right? Like the wine bottle and the. So what that
Mhm.
does is it allows your brand to tell new kinds of stories. So instead of just having like just text, whether it's on your product, on the labeling, why don't you add a QR code that goes straight to Instagram, Meta Spark AR, or goes to, like you said, there are platforms that you can develop these experiences, just embed that as a QR code on the packaging, plain and simple. Just have it
Mhm.
go, and then that way you're adding like extra value, extra post-purchase value. That's kind of the big part,
Absolutely.
right? Like we buy all these things, whether it's online or these physical things, but there's no after you have it, there's no extra, interactivity. They don't have my email. They don't have, what if I want to buy extra things, especially online, there is that. But if I buy something at a store, you know what I mean? Like that company, there's no way to get back to me. So
Right.
closing that loop, creating these, whether it's an AR experience or some sort of, landing page that has a website with a personal video. I think the coolest thing to, scan a thing and then have a video of the owner talking to me, saying, "Hey, I want to thank you for buying my dog kind of treats," and it
It
kind
feels
of helps,
personal.
it gives that connection. And brands are always
Absolutely.
looking for that connection. Well, that's a very simple way, but people are like, "Oh, I don't want to do it," or "I don't want to, fuss over extra layers and that." And maybe it's too techy, like you said. But
But I think it's just so amazing the things that can be accomplished with it. But you personally, don't you incorporate some of this stuff into the work that you do regularly for marketing?
absolutely, yeah, yeah. So the stuff with Naughty by Nature that we're working on now is, a lot of their merch, right? Like they've been selling merch for 30 years. Vin's been
Mm.
like it's just all these brands, how these artists have, tons and tons of merch that they sell, but there's no digital equivalent, right? There's no digital twins. So that's kind of
Mhm.
a project that we're working on now to kind of, bring those digital twins of the physical merch so that those are NFTs and those belong to the people and and they can have a closet, right? An augmented reality closet. When they go in, it's going to have those NFTs. And I kind of, I was inspired by, Vivi and Marvel, right? So a lot of the
Mhm.
Avengers and a lot of the Spider-Man, and they took a lot of the those NFTs and they put them in these nice augmented reality vaults, so that when you're at home, like, I know when I buy something online now, these digital NFTs, like want to show them off. Like you want to, you don't just want to have them
Right.
on a laptop. Like
Want
you
everyone to
want to
see
have
it.
it. No, take out your nice iPad and place a whole big, huge closet in the middle of your living room, and then show all your friends all the NFTs or all the collectibles that you kind of, that you've bought or you've earned or you've created yourself. I think that's a way for brands to kind of reach out now and kind of really interact with that. And I think it's a good way for them to collect. If you collect certain hoodies, and maybe if you collect all of them, that's extra points and that's extra levels of rewards and all sorts of stuff planned for that. And it's very exciting.
So it kind of ties in the augmented reality with utility.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of shows that it's not only a gimmick where it's like, hey, look, I placed that thing. It's now I'm going to load up my closet or my vault that has all my NFTs in it. And I can place them and kind of, do stuff. And I think that's just another way of, using experience and using kind of technology to, keep a lot of your stuff, right? Like we have folders on our laptops that have all these files. We don't see them. We can't really touch them. Can't really show anybody. It gets odd, right? With videos on TVs and such now, there's a lot of digital screens that people are pushing a lot of their media to. So now it's physical world, but now you can augment, right? Take a lot of that digital info and bring it into the real world and the experience.
Why do you think that the sneaker industry has become like so popular with this?
It just started because it's something that like the sneaker heads are just so into their digital, right? It's that generation.
Mm.
Like even my older generation, it's the Nike and the Jordan, right? For has such long pedigree and such long history, and now it's you know, overlaying kind of things. And the stuff that Artifact was doing with Nike, where they actually made a digital shoe called Crypto Kicks. But the cool part was like they sold all these vials. You could get different vials. You could get like a devil vial or like a cool, like different hot fire, and you could change the design of the shoe by different vials. It kind of plays like a gamification. Right? It kind of makes it so that hey, everybody gets a blank shoe, digital shoe. But then depending on if you were lucky in the raffle, depending on what kind of vial you got, that would augment like the value of it, right? Like some of it
Okay.
would be maybe it's worth $100, but if you got this special golden one that was with a special collab from like they had a Murakami, so they had all these different kind of wild looking shoes. If you got that, that was potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's really about, creating these storylines with technology that allow people to kind of, gamify it. And, in the e-commerce that I do, and we all shop online,
Mhm.
there's a lot of gamification, right? Like spend this much more and get like extra free shipping and do this
Mhm.
and get this. Well, in the augmented reality and the shoe game and all that, there's lots of variables that you can be creative and come up with these great, flows. Hey, you click on this link, you enter your email, and you get put into a raffle, and then you download this shoe, and then maybe it's a creator. Maybe you're a creator and you could earn the possibility to design a shoe for Nike, design a
Mhm.
shoe for Adidas. No, that's starting to happen. Nike created uh, essentially a creator economy around CloneX and then around Artifact. So it's them. Nike wants to get into the digital shoe game and have other creators and other 3D modelers like some friends of ours, and essentially
Mhm.
maybe they could get some money off some sales. That's pretty wild.
Sure. So, in your opinion, bringing it back to kind of like a more basic level with augmented reality for people who have businesses or who might be involved in the marketing of their business, what do you think is going to be some of the most popular ways that people are implementing augmented reality into their branding in general? I mean, the sneakers is an obvious one, but like in general,
Yeah,
like let's say, if you're the marketing person for, any type of company, a manufacturing plant, like what are
right.
the ways that augmented reality could be built into that to kind of enhance their marketing?
Yeah, so it really, like you said, it really matters on the type of industry you're in, right? And type of products
Mhm.
that you're doing. So what's cool now is the last few years, Meta Spark AR and, Snap Lens and all these platforms, they make it really a lot easier to, create your effect, upload it to the platform, and then they'll give you a QR code that you can literally put on your product or stitch into it. So instead of maybe putting just like a sticker, maybe you could actually print it right into, the products. So instead of
Mhm.
QR codes, you can actually use, markers. Markers are any type of design that you decide, and then once that camera hits that marker, then the effect kind of starts. Then you can
Okay.
kind of add interactivity. So a lot of companies, they just have to be creative and say, okay, if I'm working at a factory, and maybe I could put little puppies around the factory and showcase that there's projects that kind of interact with the company itself. Maybe it's their mascot, right? Like it's smart if it's a puppy kind of factory that produces treats, well then maybe, a lot of the employees you can give them little digital dogs and they can play with it. It's more for social media. It's more for, that would be
Okay.
more for
Entertainment.
branding. Yeah, more for
Okay.
entertainment. I think if you start there, then you can kind of like do it in phases to where maybe there's other people that'll have other ideas. Maybe somebody online will see something from another company and say, hey, can we build this as well? I think companies just have to get their feet wet, start getting into it and start talking to like their employees and say, hey, how do you guys use Instagram? Like, how do you different filters?
Mhm.
What's fun? Because it could be just a mask, right? It could be just a fun, your hair waves, but the logo's in your hair a certain way, or it's your colors, right, for your branding. So just find creative ways that you can integrate it, and then maybe later on, like you said, you could build a Unity application. You could build something on iPhone and Android so that it's more of an app, right? So
Mhm.
you can either scan it to go to a platform that'll do these experiences, or you can build yourself a nice app. Oh, you can go on Fiverr and get a developer. You can go on, there's lots of ways of being building. People have been building these for 10 years, 12 years.
Mhm.
It's getting easier now with the phones and stuff like that. So, yep,
It's funny that, like you mentioned, talk to your employees and see what they how they do it because, like in my real life job, I actually, I did marketing for a lot of years, and I'm not
right,
doing the marketing at the company I'm at now, but I'm often consulted on for it because I have the background in it. And we were talking the other day, and I was explaining that, that they were starting a new campaign or contemplating it. And I kind of pointed out a few things to them about, how our employees actually interact on social media, how they interact, with each other. And I didn't feel that the direction they were looking at was actually going to be well received. And so they ended up talking to a few employees, and it actually corroborated what I was saying. So they're
right,
looking in a new direction now, but it's important to get feedback. And I feel like focus groups are really great when you are trying to figure out what people want and what they like and what they don't like about your brand currently.
absolutely,
But the flip side of that is in here, in the metaverse, in the games, in everything, some of the greatest ideas don't necessarily come from the developers that are up here. They come from the users down here who say, it
okay,
would be really
okay,
great if, AltSpace could do such and such. And then somebody like you who knows how to do it is like, I can do that. I can make that happen. And then you run with it. So it's important to listen to what people have to say and take the feedback, and whether you're implementing augmented reality, NFTs, or simply just branding in general, it's important to know who your audience is and whether or not what you're creating is a good utilization of space and time for your efforts. But when you make it something interesting, like you talked about, having the puppies running around, getting treats and things like that, or even the sneakers and stuff where you're having your own physical brand to go along with it, it's really it's what people want. That's what matters. At the end of the day, you could create the greatest thing on the planet, but if nobody wants it, nobody's going to use it. It's not going to be successful. So it's good to get feedback, and it's important for everybody to remember that when you're doing things in your own businesses, as you're implementing some of these ideas that we talk about up here, you know ask people what they like, ask people what works and what doesn't work, and when they've been in other instances, what have they seen that they wish you guys had, you know and
Right.
that's important. I mean, this show spawned because people came to me and said, I wish I could learn more. I said, okay, I'll make that happen. We'll put a show out here so we can teach you instead of just talking. So it's kind of that's an important fundamental.
Yeah, and the augmented reality, like it's like I said, the creativity that you have, that's going to be endless, right? Like there's a lot of interactivity that you can add. Now you can do where you can put a full digital car in front of you, and with a Lexus, and you can change the color of the Lexus, and you can zoom inside. So there's a lot of user experiences that let you buy the product, test the product before you buy it. These are digital ways that companies can kind of enhance the whether it's a service or a product. Like people are building, it's whether it's a service, that gets where it's trickier, right? Because
Hmm.
maybe you're like selling, maybe you do bookkeeping or something, or you do copyright. How would you create an augmented reality experience? Well, the whole thing is create your avatar, right? Like create your digital avatar and then have that animate in a book, right? Like so
Hmm.
just do find creative ways in your kind of little sector, in your little industry, that will give you promotion and kind of have value to people, and and it's word of mouth, right? We always talked about sharing. That's the biggest thing ever. You talk, these communities are strong. If you make it, like, if
Mm.
you have an event like this, have a big launch event, talk about your app, talk about your event or your platform, and then the word of mouth can kind of, and give them reason for word of mouth. Make everybody that comes to your launch event, give them free access to your beta app to them. Give your test all these effects, these different augmented reality, have them all tested out, tell their friends, and then kind of go from there, right? Like everybody's so scared to launch something. It's better to just iterate, get it out there as an MVP, get people testing it on your beta, and then just iterate from there and kind of grow the features, right?
Mm.
That's why you have version 1 and version 2. There's a reason it kind of incrementally kind of goes up, is have to just get it out there, have something with your brand, get the feedback like you said, and if it's not good, you'll know. And if it is,
Mm.
then
Of
you
course.
kind of go from there.
One thing you always know is when people don't like something.
You do. That's true. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
So a friend of mine is actually owns a jewelry store, and one of the things that they're implementing into the store is it's not just being able to see different jewelry like on you or whatever, but it's creating custom pieces and
ooh.
doing it so that the custom piece can actually be seen. So as you're creating some, because it's not cheap to create custom jewelry, and it's as they're creating it, they're implementing a system that will go work through a headset. The person can
Wow.
put the headset on, look down, and actually see their custom piece on their
I like
hand.
that.
So not just, taking like a ring off, out of the catalog, dropping it on. It could be a necklace, it could be a bracelet, a ring,
Yeah.
anything, and they can actually custom make it right there in the software, to a, obviously it's not exact, but it's to the point where you could at least get a feel for how it would look on you. And that people, it's being really well received because people are like, oh, this is so cool, instead of just being like, all right, tell me how much it would cost, all right, I'll be back. Now they're actually seeing it and they're like, I love it, I want this, so it's actually moving sales ahead a little bit too.
That's like a white glove service that I would add on to like a custom ring, but instead of having them come to the shop, I would just get their info and I would send it digitally to the app. I would tell them, "Hey, like install this customized app. It's just for you.
Mm.
You get a notification that your custom ring has been updated, and try it on yourself." Like that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. That would be so
that's
cool.
Really, really is. Yeah, and like you said, like fashion's big right now. Like the try on part, it's um I'm really into the AI generated kind of stable diffusion and kind of all that stuff. So, like you said, the fashion stuff, being able to, accessorize and kind of make it random and make random patterns and be able to
Mhm.
kind of showcase that. I love it. Like I love Blender and playing with all the different ways of taking new types of it's personalization. That's where it is. Like people want these experiences to be more personal. So to do that,
Absolutely.
you have to, implement some augmented reality, implement some sort of, let them select. Don't just give them a product that's there. Let them change it. Let them maybe change the color of it and change something so that it's unique to them. Then they save it in their, in their gallery or something. But to them, that's cool. Like you said, the wall paintings, the
Yep.
furniture, be able to have like a custom house within, be able to place all that stuff, but then change it from a square to, maybe change the scale. All those types of utility, it really helps brands kind of engage with their customers.
For sure. Yeah. You're right. Everybody loves to have their own things, personal to them. I mean, we could both go out and buy black t-shirts, but they're going to be slightly different. And that makes mine unique to yours, and everybody loves having something that is known as theirs. Even in here, it's funny because we have our clothes that we wear, and some people in here, we know it's them when we see them because that's what they wear. They have their look, and it's special to them. I mean, like last week you threw me off when you came in here with the red hair. I know you with the
Yeah,
teal hair. It's just it's
right.
it's a look. It's yours, and you people enjoy having that known look of their own. But to be able to go in and look at different items that are actual like outside items and customize those to themselves is pretty interesting.
Well, and I'll take it a step further. Like we talked about the fashion. So you made a good point of saying, we're both going to do that for digital fashion as our avatars. But anyone that's in here knows that all the avatars have different specs and different sizing and everything. So now
Mhm.
what they're doing is they're using AI to scan your body so that when you do buy digital clothes, it actually fits. So that that company can, the dress that you want, the t-shirt, even the t-shirt that you want, you can select it and it knows your profile. It knows whether you're an extra large, it knows you're a medium. Oh, and you like the sleeves a little bit longer. Imagine having that customization when it comes to, clothing and kind of fashion. And that it's just starting to kind of come into e-commerce now. But I love that kind of stuff. So that was a great to have augmented reality kind of customized to your stuff.
Mm.
That's the code in that just gives me goosebumps.
And there you have the techie.
Exactly. Exactly.
So do you have any big projects coming up other than the Naughty by Nature stuff like that you're playing around with that is maybe, not you know, you don't have to divulge anything confidential, but like do you have things coming up that you're trying to create new and exciting?
That's the big project actually. That's the digital twin kind of, and it's all NFTs, it's web3, it's
Mhm.
augmented reality. So it's got a lot of bases, right? It's got a lot of moving puzzles. So it's a big project and we've been developing it for a few months now. So we're actually really close to having an MVP and having
Woo,
accessing beta. So going to be asking for friends and kind of people that want to be part of it to try it out, and you'll be able to kind of
exciting.
scan a scan a thing and collect kind of an NFT and have a collectible and be able to see it in your closet. And I think that's for our fans, like Naughty by Nature fans, and we've got other brands that we kind of work with. I work with Run DMC and I work with Rock Kim and I work with other kind of hip hop artists. And if
Mhm.
we can do stuff where the case study for Naughty by Nature works out and it all kind of everybody's super on board, we can kind of slowly roll it out to other brands and really help, bridge that digital and physical kind of everybody's old school. Everybody likes to buy real stuff. So we want to take
Mm.
NFTs kind of got a some of the art, people sold lots of art and it was just art and there's nothing wrong with that, but you can tell now these contracts, these they're you can add more, right? These smart contracts, you can add more utility. So now what we're doing is when you have this NFT, it actually gives you this augmented reality experience. gives you points, gives you a reward system. Like that all should be baked into the NFT. So now there's actual value, right? Like now you can tie the value of the NFT to actual the value of what you bought. If you spend $100 on a hoodie, well then that kind of NFT is tied to that. So we talked about Nike and them. Well, now they're taking digital, shoes and tying it to a physical shoe. I love that. They're called it world merging kind of chip technology, where it's
Mm,
you sit on the shoe and then all of a sudden an app comes up and it kind of authenticates and lets you connect your wallet. And then now you're taking something physical and saying, I'm tying it to the blockchain. So when you go to sell it,
absolutely. Yeah.
you can sell the physical item and then you can transfer the NFT. I love that stuff. That's just future of Web3 and that kind of got to get into the projects and you got to start building them and like you said ask around, but that's kind of the project that I'm kind of focused on right now and hopefully next couple months there we're going to be rolling that out, so it'll be real exciting.
Ooh, super exciting. Hopefully it'll be done in Q1 and we'll all get to witness it and see what happens with it. Maybe we'll have to do a show just on that after it launches. That'd be exciting.
Absolutely, yeah, we'll have Vinny come on and he'll demo. He's so excited, you know him, right? You know him
I
from the
know.
other things, like
He gets
he
into it.
loves technology, he loves this, he has so much passion for kind of his merch and passion for just his fans and kind of the customers and the ecosystem in general. So be able to build a really cool experience like this and tie it to the brand and then showcase. We'll go on podcast. We're getting invitations to really talk about types of projects we're building. So yep, we'll keep everybody in the loop.
Exciting. Definitely. Well, let's go talk to the audience for a few
Sure.
minutes here. Has anybody in the audience done anything with augmented reality, or are there any questions that you have on augmented reality? The raise hand feature has just been turned on, so if you have anything you'd like to ask or to share with us, please do.
Yeah, we have Blue Wolf. Go ahead, Blue Wolf.
Yeah, I got one. Know how you said that you'd be able to take like a picture and bring them clothes in? Can it be anything? Like any clothes designs or any kind of texture on the clothes? Would it be
Yeah,
textured with that style or?
yeah, so there's a lot of caveats that come with that, right? So when you're designing digital fashion, it really depends on software that you're using, right? You can use Blender, you can use something open source or Maya, but it's all about, you know, if you're doing the digital fashion, it has to go to a certain avatar. We're alt space here, so fashion that we use is obviously just for this metaverse. So you can build other kind of digital fashion, then you'd have to upload that model, like the mesh, upload that model to like Spark AR, Meta AR, right? And then it's a 3D object, and then you could have a trigger. You could have something like I said, a marker, or you could have right when you launch the app, then you could have the digital fashion kind of appear. Maybe you have it animate, maybe you kind of have it walking, it looks cool or dress, but that's how you would bring that mesh into a program like Spark AR, and then you just output that for that experience.
Awesome, can't wait to see it.
Thank you for the question.
Absolutely.
Does anyone else have anything?
Who's seen something cool? Who's seen some really cool like augmented reality kind of experience that they thought was fun?
I actually had a glitch of augmented reality.
Oh yeah?
It was Sherwin and Blue and I were over in the Oculus home space. Now they have so that you can actually be there with your avatar. And
Right.
I went into my pass through, but Sherwin was in my living room. Because his avatar was still there, and I was in the pass through. When you're in the pass through, you can see your home, your
Right.
actual surroundings in the black and white, and somehow his avatar was in there floating around in my living room. It was hilarious.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I really like the pass through. And I'm jealous because on the Quest 2, it's only black and white. It's only a
Yes.
pro, right, that'll have full color. So I'm seeing these games that they're playing, and I want to be laying in my bed and have all the little bugs or something, spiders kind of crawling around and have lasers that you guys shoot the kind of bugs all around me. I think that'd be fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, if there's games like that coming out, we better hope that the Guardian system gets a little bit more enhanced because people are going to be walking into things and knocking over furniture and punching things as they're trying to swat like the bugs on their mantle.
Well, they did a augmented reality where it was Mario Kart, I guess. And they can play it in your own house. So
Oh
you
my
make
God.
the track and then you kind of play it and you kind of so I really like the fact that you can interact with the real world and have still have the goggles on or still have I think Apple's going to release something next year. I think they're going to have like an
Mm.
AR kind of experience where maybe it won't be for when you're driving. I think it's just more for outside play, like Pokemon
Yep.
Go, but maybe better experiences, right? Maybe
Hmm.
it's if you're in a group, imagine having 20 people in a group and you're all playing this cool game in the world. Like I'm sure they're going to have better types of experiences once it's all about the power of the hardware. And I know that
Yes.
everybody talks about, oh, it's the apps and the apps. It is, but it also comes down to how much,
Has to be supported by.
polygons.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. You got to push out all of that and its bandwidth. So everybody thinks, oh, like, how's it getting all the internet? How's it getting, the connection and needs a steady stream and not everybody is on 5G. Some people are still different internet plans. And I think that tends to affect the experiences that they have in AR, right? Like have a iPhone Max, 14 Max, and you're on, 5G. You're rocking. You're not going to
Yeah.
have, any
If you're still
bad
using an iPhone
experience.
8, maybe not so much.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it'll
I mean,
be
it's
it'll
kind of
be
like the
fun to
difference
see.
in, we went from Atari to Oculus. There's a big difference there. What the hardware can handle and push out.
Way different. Yeah. So that's kind of where it's headed, and it'll be exciting kind of once but it's a specialized thing. It's not for everybody. It's not like just like gaming and just like VR and kind of those kind of experiences. It's not like everybody's going to be walking around. I hate the media that talks walking around with these things on. No one's going to be. Maybe some, but that's just
Right,
like, is there laptops in but everybody said nobody's going to have their phones out. Okay, well, now there's more phones and there's more tech,
right.
right? And starts off specialized, but then ends up more mainstream.
And I think it's like that with everything. I just think that's kind of how the way it goes.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share? Do you think that in the next year we're going to see more games, let's call them, or apps on phones coming out that will actually incorporate AR in a more active way instead of just, like we talked about the furniture and things like that, but like in a more active way where people are doing more of like a Pokemon Go? Do you think that that's going to maybe take off a little bit, that industry?
Yeah, I think it's going to. I think there's more. Everybody is talking about getting outside. With the pandemic, that lasted a few years, right? So everybody was inside.
Mm,
So now that it's kind of opened up a little bit more, those types of experiences where you can overlay, like I said, group play, or it's about information, right? When you're out for your walk, it's nice to have different plants or different city kind of different spots that are important, kind of keepsakes that are important to the city, right? It's so that kind of info, I think now the barrier is a lot lower, right? Like before, the city would have to hire a tech team, right? Maybe a development company, a software to come and develop a whole app. And it might cost them $80,000 to develop something like that. Now, you can get a student that can watch a couple YouTube videos, go on, go on Instagram that actually
mhm.
has a bigger reach than what their app would. So instead of building a complete app for an augmented reality, you just build, a couple landing pages that have QR codes that have links to all these
Yep.
different experiences. Build an experience like that. Go to your city and say, look, I built this for the city. Put all these different markers, these geolocated markers all over the city. And if people have their app, they can It's a city app or whether it's a website, they can instantly have all this data. Stuff like that's fun. Or if they collect different points, like those experiences is gamified. If you go around the city and you get all these little coins, then it becomes Pokemon Go. You captured them for your city,
Right?
and then maybe it's little monsters in your city that's destroying your city. Go and collect them all, and then maybe you get 10% off of the burger joint in town, right?
That
Like,
would be so
there's
much fun. I would definitely be in for that, especially when the nice weather comes. I mean, I live in the city, so I would love to be walking around the city with some sort of a side quest going on. I would love that.
million
I think
dollar
it
idea.
would be
Just
fun.
gave away. No, it's been done. Like people have been doing this. It's been done for almost a decade now. But now the bar is lower. More people can do it. And it's
Mhm.
fun, right? Imagine a high school kid bringing that to his class or bringing it to the teacher and saying, "I put all these hidden things all around the school." Or it's fun. It kind of
Right,
it
right.
gives interactivity and promotes. You were talking about marketing. This, imagine the word of mouth that some high school kid built an AR experience, and now all the kids at school are learning that certain bugs or certain thing. I don't know.
No,
it's just
I
fun.
agree with you. It could even be, you could tie it into a really, decent educational thing where you turn around,
Absolutely.
like, let's say the geometry class. You need to find something that's hexagonal, go find it and scan it, things like that. So
Love it.
they think they're having fun with it, but it's actually, they're educational at the same time. I think it's an easy crossover. The technology, can be created, but I think the merging it into education is a great crossover.
I'll blow your mind. I actually just thought of a project I worked on maybe about 7 years ago, 6 years ago. I actually built an application that's an AR app. It was for we have a lot of I'm Canadian, so we have a lot of natives that kind of build in different kind of tribes, and so this Ojibwe tribe has their language is actually kind of they're losing a lot of the language because it's certain tribes they have some in Dakota and different things, but it's so I built an augmented reality app that works with Google Lens so that when they
Okay.
scanned some plants, it would scan the plant, go to the cloud, find what that plant was by object recognition, and then it would
Yep.
translate that to the text to speech of their language.
Oh, I love
They
that.
their minds were blown. He was crying. Listen, City, I do a lot of tech stuff and
That's
that, but
awesome.
if I can get people to cry, I was so happy. I was so happy. Like, because it was a useful thing. Then they were scanning like radios and pencils and things, and it
Yeah.
was back all these words, all these spoken words.
Oh, that's so
Amazing project.
cool.
So that's the power that you can take back history, use new technologies to
Mm,
keep legacy, to keep kind of the history, the data.
absolutely.
You have a lot of old data. Use
Mm.
augmented reality to display the data in a new way, in a new engaging way. And a process like that, a flow like that, it's fun. Just fun.
And I could see that turning into, breaking down language barriers as well. If you could
Absolutely.
take that same concept and use it for translation when people travel, a travel app that, they could scan something and it would tell them what that word, say you're traveling in Central America, you need to know how to say something in Spanish, scan it and it would tell you. That would be amazing.
Oh,
We do have
We have
someone.
Meta Day. Yep.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Meta Day.
Hey y'all, happy new year everyone.
Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year.
Quick let me see, two observations. Because you mentioned about the AR scanning something, scanning a plant and then telling the person what the plant is, I just came up with a nice idea. It would be nice. I mean, AR. I'm sorry, AI. I'm still tired for working out and sleeping and getting over this weekend. But it would be nice if AI can scan like even food objects to tell you the ingredients in a specific food, whether it's healthy for you, well, whether hey, eat this if you want to gain weight, eat this if you want to lose weight, or don't eat this if you want to lose weight and you're going to end up gaining weight. So that's the one thing, first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is City, I don't know if you know, like over in VR chat, there is a dog park over there. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And it's
I
the
have been
neatest
to it.
thing. Of course, of course.
It's very cool.
The neatest thing
Very
about
cool.
it is how you get. Oh, so you go to this dog park. If anybody have never been over there, you go to the dog park. You may see three, four, five, six dogs over there, and you determine, to determine which dog is yours. I believe you pick up either a bone, make the a throw, as soon as you pick it up, oh, unit. I think that's just the coolest thing. That's what I wanted to say this evening.
Oh, you're
I
right. That
love it.
is a very cool program over in VR chat. I've been there a couple of times and played with the dogs. It's a lot of fun, and it is pretty interesting how the dog is tied to whatever toy it is you pick up. You throw it, that dog will just keep coming back to you every time, and it is a fun app.
Yeah, it just shows that the interactivity and the user experience is so important, right? Like a lot of people
Absolutely.
plan out a lot of tech projects, whether it's a website or whether it's an app or whether it's a VR kind of experience. The experience has to be at the core of it. You have to be able to have fun. People got to be able to enjoy it, right? And something like that. That's just code that just kind of interacts with code. And but the AI part, that's where it gets kind of tricky, right? Because they have to recognize and they have to like there's a lot of computer vision, there's a lot of machine learning. Those are key components of like a lot of this AI kind of stuff. And it's just starting now with AR kind of to be able to recognize a lot more so that they can process it differently and into the cloud and share the data. But it's a very exciting kind of time for the tech to kind of push into this.
I agree completely. I think we live in a very exciting time in general. The last few years, I've learned so many new things. I've gotten to experience and witness so many things. Everybody who's in here today, think about the very first time you put on your Oculus and you even that first app that you do, it's called like First Steps or whatever, and you're just like, wow. It's like amazing the first time you see it. Now we put on our headset and this is just so common and it's so like this is just what we do. It's every day. We think of it as totally normal. But every new person who just got a Quest for Christmas who put on that headset that first day, they were like, wow. It's just amazing. I mean, we live in a very interesting time in I feel like kids who are born now or in the last, say 10 years that are growing up with this, they have no idea how lucky they are to have this
Oh,
just be so commonplace to them because this is amazing, the stuff that we're living in right now.
absolutely. Really is.
Do we have any other questions before we wrap up the hour? Next week, we are going to have a special guest on. It is actually someone out of our audience. Her name is Nello, and she's actually a world builder. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Web3 and world building next week. She does build a little over here. She also builds over in Horizons, and she actually has a company that builds worlds. So we're going to talk to her next week and get a little bit of her perspective and some of the projects she's worked on and her story. And check that out. It'll be
That'd
interesting.
be amazing. Love when we have
Yes,
guests. When
I
the
do
guests
too.
give them the floor and yeah, just takes up a lot of the conversation and we learn new things, right? We get to ask the
Absolutely.
questions and instead of, answering the questions all the time, both of us, it's great that we can, get ready and prepare and have them on and share their projects and share a platform to be able to get people excited about whatever they're working on. It's great.
Oh, for sure. Actually, we're we um, January. And in January, we expect Romana coming on to talk about some of the projects she's worked on. One of them is augmented reality. She actually has this. We're going to try and have a little video for you to see. She created a little hummingbird that floats around, and you can actually see it above your, like when you on your wrist, like above a watch,
Cool.
like all these different things. It's really cool. She also is a big creator of NFTs. She made a whole line for Pulse Cats that was supposed to be for Pulsecoin, which didn't happen, but she made this incredible line of NFTs. So we'll have some interesting guests on this month.
Excellent. Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. We're really glad to have you this year with us. This is really exciting for us. Don't forget to check out our social media sites, our YouTube channel if you want to rewatch previous episodes. If you're new and you just got your headset for Christmas,
hold on a
we
second.
do
Let me
have
watch
all
the
the previous
video.
episodes up on our YouTube channel. If you go to our Instagram, which is Crypto City VR, there's a link tree at the top, and you can see all of our social media and our YouTube channel. Everything is there, so that you have the access. We also have a Discord channel, which you're all welcome to join. Come on there, ask questions, get some answers, put some suggestions out there. If you're sitting out there in the audience and you're like, I want to see a show on XYZ, put it on our Discord and we'll incorporate it into the schedule. So thank you all for
As long
coming,
as
and thank you, Pixel.
no problem. I just want to add, as long as XYZ involves puppies, safe.
Yes.
And we're good. Fine.
I'm
Thanks
doing a
again,
show
City.
on
Happy
2023
New
being
Year,
the year of
everyone.
Michael Jordan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
very much, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Hey, take care.